Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. This episode is brought to you by The Wellness Paradigm, a holistic health coaching company shifting the way that women understand and heal their bodies. Through bioenergetic testing, functional lab testing, and functional nutrition, we uncover what traditional approaches often overlook, so you can stop guessing and start healing and finally feel like yourself again. No more one-size-fits-all protocols, just real answers, deep-rooted healing, and the clarity and confidence you deserve to feel incredible. It's time to shift the paradigm of women's health. Now, on to our show. Good morning, Kim, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. I'm excited about being here. I love to share with people. So,
Yes, she has a lot to share today. She is, I think, goes by Nontoxnana-a, which is, I love that name. And she really helps educate others on the dangers of toxins in their personal care products and their home care problems. So I think that's just like a really common topic right now. Is understanding what the heck is actually in our products, in our home, and why it matters. So I would love for you to give us a little insight on who you are, Kim, and how you got started kind of educating people about this.
well, I've had to worry about things around me since I was 8 years old. That's when I developed my first allergy, which happened to be to aspirin, which in many ways that may have been a blessing because it has some side effects that I will never have to deal with. Because I had allergies at 8 and they continued, they eventually turned into asthma, which makes me more sensitive to things like bleach. It will give me asthma attacks, so we don't use bleach, and fragrance, many fragrances that people wear. So we're going to talk about the dangers of that as we go on. And who knows what all these come from? Is it toxins that gave me the problems in the first place? So I want a safe environment for both my family. And when I became a grandmother, that became even more important because you got these little kids crawling around your house, stand up on the French door, and you want to know that when you cleaned it, you didn't use a toxic product. It's important because they're exposed all the time. And frankly, so are your animals that are walking around on the floor. So you want to think about how you clean your floor. I work for a company that has safe personal care products and safe home care products, which makes it so much easier. When people ask me what they can use, I know that we've already done all the checking on the ingredients and sub-ingredients. And so I can say with confidence, hey, this is going to help you. So, and because it's been a long journey for me, I wanted to help other people. So I really started about 11 years ago, getting educated more and finding out some of the things that I had used over the years were really outlandish. And because the stores, all of our products, it's really misleading. So if you wonder why, when you go down the cleaning aisle, it's difficult to breathe, like it is for me, which I don't go down that aisle anymore. It's because of the ingredients that are in there that we really shouldn't be around. So, and when people are thinking about their health, they focus on what they eat and they focus on exercising, right? Getting outside, being in fresh air. But sometimes they don't think about what goes on in their body. Don't think about a person with a gluten allergy can actually have a reaction to lotion and skincare because what goes on your body, with your skin being your largest organ, goes right into your bloodstream. So that's not what we learn in school. They don't talk about this. It's not what we see on the ads on television. We see a lot of pharmaceuticals more than anything.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, and statistically, an average woman is exposed to 168, you did hear me right, toxic chemicals before she leaves the home in the morning. And that can be from taking a shower and washing your hair and putting on skincare. There are so many toxins. And because women do the majority of the cleaning, they have a much greater impact. They get exposed to a lot more than men do. Men get a lot, but women, because we care for everybody else, we get exposed to more. And if we look at some of those ingredients, even some of those you'll find in your laundry detergent, they've been linked to cancer, Alzheimer's, infertility, endocrine disruption. So, in addition to being safe, I like to find products that are effective, right? So, this is why I also work for a company that has products that work. They're not just safe, they're actually very effective. So, people try you probably know people that have tried to make their own detergent. It's really, it's better to find a safe one. And that's not going to be down the aisle in the grocery store. If you look on the back of those, you'll see things, but you have to read little tiny print. And then that means you have to stand there for a long time. So that alone is a challenge. And it's tough for people because there's a lot of big words out there.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you have a list, which I do have a list if people want it, basic toxins and what you want to avoid and why. But reading labels can be overwhelming.
Very.
You know, you've probably heard of greenwashing,
Mm-hmm.
where labels say things that make you think they're healthy
Mm-hmm.
or organic, and maybe it's 10% organic, which is what's required. It's not really truly organic. And then you'll see things with the pink breast cancer awareness ribbon.
Yep.
Means they support maybe monetarily breast
Mhm.
cancer research. It doesn't mean that that product is safe.
No.
We've seen that on deodorant that
Oh, yeah.
still has aluminum and other ingredients in it that we shouldn't put on our body. So that's a really big one for me that, I deal with that with my own daughter. She'll shop and I'll go to her house and go, no, you really can't use this dish soap. And Dawn, for example, and maybe I shouldn't use a name, but everybody sees it saves the poor ducks that are covered in oil. Gets the oil off. It's not healthy for you.
Yeah.
And it's interesting thing with dish soap too. If you use a real good dish soap that's organic and clean, your dishcloth doesn't stink. But
Mm.
we use those ones in the grocery store that have all the fancy advertising, and you wonder why your sponge or dishcloth stinks. It's because of some of the ingredients in there. That's something I didn't know until I switched, and you notice, wow, stuff's so much more pleasant when you're in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
So, can I share one of my favorites? I have one product
Yeah,
that
of
I absolutely
course.
love since I've been on this journey, and I have this little headache stick. And this thing is totally toxin free. I have lived with migraines since I was about 18 from a collision with a drunk driver. I got hit by a drunk and got some head injury. And so I've had these migraines, and now I don't.
Mm.
Now I don't. And I just have this little stick, which I think this is just amazing. There's a lot of good products out there that I can just rub on my temples when I start getting an aura, and I don't get a headache. I haven't had one in 3 years.
Mm.
So for somebody who's been in bed, sometimes days at a time as a result of a migraine,
Mm.
it's really amazing. So I get excited when we can find safe products. They're all out there. We have healthier food, we have healthier products, what we put on our bodies and clean our house with. One of the things you really want to watch for is window cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the real popular ones are highly toxic. One of the most toxic products you can find out there. So, another thing that I love doing and working with people is if they come to me with a problem. I love to solve problems. I love have kind of an investigative background, and that's where I really enjoy helping people. And I had a dad meet me one day for coffee and say, hey, I've got a toddler who's itching all the time. What is it? I said, well, I can't tell you for sure what it is, but I can help you go through a process of elimination. And the first thing I recommend to him is just change the laundry detergent.
Mm-hmm.
We're in clothes or sheets 24 hours a day, and the detergent we use stays in those. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't want toxic detergent. So you try a good detergent, which he did, and she doesn't itch anymore. Now, that isn't the first solution. You might want to go on to whatever she's using for body wash and shampoo.
Mm-hmm.
And last week, I ran into one of my daughter's friends who has a 7-month-old baby, and she uses our baby wash. She forgot it when she went on vacation, and her little baby broke out all over from using another option. So, it just makes a difference. Not put those things on our kids or on ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
or even somebody with dandruff, it can be your shampoo. It can be, you need a scalp serum, but you want to think about what you're putting on your head and what you're putting on your body, because it does get absorbed right away. But what I really see in a lot of people is they're not ready to make a transition because it is so completely overwhelming.
Oh, yes.
So overwhelming. And that's true with every part of us, right? We want to eat healthier. We need to learn how to do that. We need to do the right exercises to be beneficial. And you need to use the right things on your body and in your house. And don't make it hard on yourself. Find somebody like me that has products that are safe, that have all been checked and double checked, and you're good. And there's a guarantee, so that's fine too. But then you don't have to stand in the aisle, because if you have 3 kids or more, or 2 kids or 1 kid, I'm kids today, how many sports are they in? I mean, 1 week you can be at ballet and baseball and football and basketball. There's some kids that play basketball year round. So all these different activities, who wants to stand in the aisle and read all the labels? So that's where I like to help people. And when people think about what they can do to make it better for them, it's really a learning curve. Learn about what's toxic and what isn't. And I'm going to tell you a few that I strongly recommend you start with. The number 1 ingredient, if you turn over anything you have and it says fragrance, put it back. It hides over 3,200 different ingredients. And a good example is even laundry detergent. You buy one with fragrance, and maybe it didn't bother you this time, and you go back and buy it again next time. It still has the same label, but it doesn't have the same ingredients, because fragrance is legally allowed to cover 3,200 chemicals. And it's in your skincare, it's in your makeup.
And everything.
It is. So if you have itchy eyes, it might be your mascara, and there are healthier mascaras. So we gotta look for those things. That's my biggest one. That's the easiest one to start with. Look at the word fragrance. You want to avoid parabens, phthalates, triclosan, sodium lauryl sulfate, which is SLS. You'll see that in a lot of shampoos. Parabens are preservatives, and they're derived by petroleum. They're petroleum byproducts. They are the garbage. When they make petroleum, and the stuff that comes off is they don't want, that goes in to products. You can find that in lip balm. So when you get hooked on lip balm, take a look at what it is. It isn't necessarily moisturizing your lips. It could be causing more problems in your body. So, and phthalates, that is a chemical that's legally hidden in fragrance, and it's linked to birth defects, breast cancer, diabetes, obesity, autism, and ADHD. Now, I don't really want any of those things. I don't want my kids, my grandkids, any to have those things. So it was recently that I learned that some of these ingredients can cause infertility.
Oh, yeah, big one.
I wish I knew that when I was going through that struggle myself. Another one to watch for is triclosan. That's an antibacterial. And we're probably all COVID survivors, so a lot of people saw antibacterials, hand sanitizers pushed all the time. You don't want that in your soap in the bathroom. You don't want that in there. It interferes with the thyroid hormone metabolism and is an endocrine disruptor. Children exposed to a lot of triclosan at an early age have increased chances of allergies, asthma, and eczema. Nothing you want your kids to have. Another one is the sodium lauryl sulfate, might just be SLS, which creates suds, which might be an adjustment you have to get used to. When you get rid of that, things don't suds the same, but they do clean just as well. And that will eat away at skin protection and cause rashes and infections. It can penetrate young children's eyes and prevent them from developing properly. So that's kind of scary. So, I mean, that's really my basics I want to talk about. So, Shannon, what can I answer for you?
Well, I think before we kind of get into it, thank you for, bringing all those things up. I want to address two common things that I see a lot with my clients and maybe things that we can clarify because you mentioned the overwhelm getting started, right? This is the biggest one. We hear these things like phytolate and, paraben, and we're like, oh my goodness, and it's just what I always encourage all my clients to do is start with one product.
I agree.
Start with one product too. Detergent's a big one. I know that was one of my biggest swaps. Dishwashing detergent is a big one, and dish soap because like you don't realize when you're cleaning all your food, you're also ingesting that as well, everything that you're, cleaning. So those are like probably the places I say, like, if you're going to look at one thing, let's start there. Though I know the last for a lot of people is like, the last for me was like shampoo and conditioner. Still trying to find the ones I like on that because I'll be honest and I'm going to be straight up. Sometimes when you make a switch, don't always love the product, and it might take a few non-toxic options for you to find the brand. I can't tell you how many people are like, oh, I tried an aluminum-free deodorant. That's a big one too, actually. That's actually where I would start for a woman, is just swapping that. They're like, nope, I stink, didn't work, didn't like it, I'm going back. It's like, okay, there are other options. There are many different options, different companies, different brands. Find the one that you like, but it doesn't, might be something that takes a little bit of tweaking, which is frustrating when you find products that you really like, and you're like, don't want to give it up, But that's a big one. So just like taking things one step at a time. Going non-toxic is a big thing right now, especially on social media. Everyone wants you to fear every single thing that you touch, and it can feel like a lot. So start with one thing, work your way through things. I do find it is nice when you have certain, like, I know you work for a company called Pure Haven, right? So Pure Haven, it's like, okay, when you go on this site, everything there is trusted, right? There's multiple other brands that you can go through as well, where it's like, okay, I know when I go on a site like Branch Basics, I know that product is good and it makes me feel better versus you go to a store. I never buy almost anything in a store anymore because I really just don't have the availability of truly non-toxic. A lot of things, as you tapped on, are greenwashed, which is tricky because you go in and you'll see, oh, this is organic, right? As you mentioned, this is phytolate, paraben, sulfate free. You're like, this is great. And it is a better option. I will tell you this, right? Like
The step in the
it's a
right
step
direction.
in the right direction. I think sometimes the non-toxic community this could be another conversation. It can be a little bit toxic as well, just making you fear every single thing you touch. But, it is a good step in the right direction. And for the most part, those are always going to have synthetic fragrances, and it might have some other things in there too that you just aren't aware of. So, it's difficult to sometimes make those right decisions. That's why I just buy everything online from trusted companies and not have to worry about stores. But I did want to just mention that because I think it can be a very off-putting conversation for people to just not know where to start and what to look for. So,
Well, and the process takes time. So I do want to talk about shampoo. So because shampoo, most of the shampoos you buy in the store, they have silicone in them. It's not good.
yeah.
So as you're getting those things cleaned out of your hair, you're detoxing, it will take a few weeks for your hair to transition. So
Good point.
when you try a new shampoo, you're like, ooh, don't like it. But if you will be patient and give it a few times, you're going to find that it might be even better. I have customers that are customers for life because they're now shampooing their hair maybe twice a week instead of every day or every other day.
Yep.
But it's not instant. So you do have to be patient as your body clears out. Just like when you change skincare, sometimes you'll get a little breakout as your system is cleaning out. Deodorant, that is a tough transition. There's some secrets there. You can use a charcoal mask
Yep.
or charcoal shampoo in your armpits
Mm-hmm.
and help them detox. And you can even do that, every once in a while anyway, when you use a toxin-free deodorant. And we have two options. We have one with and one without baking soda because there are people out there that actually are sensitive to baking soda.
Good.
Yeah. So I think one of the advantages of working with a consultant like me is when you're struggling and you say, I'm having trouble with this, I can say, well, you could try A, B, or C, right? This might help you. We even have a sugar body scrub in lemon that one of my friends uses that under her armpits once in a while to lemon and kind of help freshen that up. Don't scrub it too much because the body scrubs a little bit. She can do it occasionally, but I wouldn't do that every single day. So there's ways to transition, and that would be where I enjoy helping people. So, where maybe I can encourage you when after a week you're hating the shampoo, but maybe you wouldn't hate the shampoo if you could give it a little more time. Or maybe you think it's giving you an itchy scalp, and what you need is a serum, a scalp serum that will take care of the itch. Because I think itchy scalp sometimes also shows up in menopause. So there's things that people are dealing with that, and if I don't know the answer, I certainly have other friends that have tried a lot of things within our product line. So I love to help people with that.
I'm glad you mentioned a little bit of patience.
Well, it's hard. I mean, I'm not, I'm the same way, right? Everybody has patience is probably one of our biggest challenges. That's why you always hear that phrase, patience is virtue. And I've been known to repeat that to myself times. Everything takes time. Like I rode horses, my granddaughters all ride. That takes patience and repetition and patience and repetition. And whether you're a baseball player, tennis player, it's patience and repetition, right? To get to where you want to be. So, I mean, I don't want this is not a year's process like some of the horses are, but, there's a lot of ways to look at it. And then there's, depending on what people need, that's where I want to help you. And I feel challenged, Shannon, like I need to help you with your shampoo.
I found one recently I started because I use a Clear Stem came out with and they're a non-toxic skincare line that I affiliate with, and they're fantastic and wonderful, but they came out with a shampoo and conditioner. So I'll have to keep you updated on that, and we'll see. Because the one it's not right now is not too hot, and I've given it 2 months, so we've given it time. But that's what I also want to be honest with people too, is like you might not find, like when I switched to non-toxic, the last thing I swapped was probably my all my makeup, because I don't wear makeup a whole lot, so it took me forever to actually like get through stuff, and that's another thing I tell my clients, like when you're done with something, you don't have to throw everything out unless you really. It depends on the client. If somebody's dealing with like infertility problems and we're trying to go full force, we're going hardcore. We're ditching everything. We're making that investment. But if, the average person who's maybe not having bronchitis issues and allergy, can slowly stop swapping things out one at a time. And makeup was a hard one for me because I tried multiple non-toxic brands and I just couldn't find the ones that I liked, but kept going. And now I have my routine. I know the ones I like and we're golden, but it took a hot second. And so I wanted you to know, if you're listening, that it's okay if you don't like every product, even though it's cleaner. There's, especially now in the last 5-7 years, the amount of opportunity to go non-toxic has exploded, which is amazing to see. There's so many more than when I got started about 10 years ago, and there was just not a lot of great options, So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there now. A lot more education too, which is also very refreshing. And again, a lot of toxicity as well. So if you're getting started, don't get scared. We'll just take things one thing at a time. You'll get there and you will feel better, but it's not always like, oh, I swapped this and suddenly all my eczema is cleared. That can't happen. I've seen that with people, right? Eczema is a big one that could be linked to a lot of other things, but let's say you just get a shower filter and you swap your body wash and boom, it's gone. Amazing. And for other people, let's say autoimmune disease, that was when I first got started, and this was my autoimmune journey. I was frustrated because I was like, wait, but I'm not better yet. I'm clearing all this. I'm spending hundreds of dollars. I'm doing all these things, right? And it just takes time. And it will eventually, it's like a cumulative, like drop in the bucket, right? Every time you do something good, it's like, it's refilling the good bucket and dumping the bad, but it's going to take a hot second to get there too. So it goes back to patience if anybody's listening. And
it does. And it could be steps. And it's funny that you say that on eczema, because I have a neighbor that had a patch on her face for years. And so I said, well, let me bring my mom balm over. It's a little balm we have that's really great for nursing moms. It's great on cracked heels. I said, let's try it on your face. 15 minutes later, she calls me and she's crying. And I think, oh my gosh, what have I done? And it actually, the red went away. It's not permanent, but it calmed it down.
Yeah.
And over months, it is getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
So it's not, that was one of the fastest reactions I've ever had from somebody who calls me crying because she'd battled for years. But it's not all instant. And you're so right in that pick a few things to start with and then add more as you can. And don't get it to be to the point where it's so financially overwhelming.
Yeah, that's a big one too.
It is big. So go through some basics and, let's see where the biggest problem is and where we can start. And that's where sometimes if you're overwhelmed, it's helpful to work with someone that can talk to you and say, okay, if you're dealing with this, these are some options I would look at. Which one do you think fits you want to try first? This is the one I've seen my customers have the most success with. So, and I try to, when we have products that don't really apply to me, we have a skincare line for teenagers. We have a blemish stick. It looks like chapstick. People can put that on a blemish. I kid you not, that thing works like magic. So I have teenagers, I find, and I loan products out so they can experiment so that I can say, yes, they use this, or yes, they use this, because I don't have teen skin anymore. If you want to talk about working on wrinkles, I've got some expertise here on that, right? So I know which creams work best for me. So, but I have a wide variety of people that I work with. And I love to try things. I love to make people happy, right? So I like to find solutions.
It's amazing what can happen when you find the right things and just even simple things and what an amazing impact that they can have. So,
well, like my headache stick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a big expensive item, but it is life-changing for me.
Yep.
Means when I'm driving down the road with my grandkids, we don't have to pull off and wait for an hour for Tylenol to kick in or longer. I can literally rub that on my temples and keep going. So that's huge. For people who don't get headaches, yeah, no big deal. They don't need it. But for me, it was huge.
Absolutely.
Finding the right shampoo, right? When you finally find it, it's great. So
yeah, it's so true. And it doesn't have to be big or complicated too. People, I think often I see this a lot where it has to be like this, like headaches, has to be this big thing that I'm using. And like, this can't possibly work. Or a big one too is like detergent. This doesn't smell enough. I'm not getting,
oh, that's the biggest
it's not strong enough. It's not working. And I'm like, that's just a synthetic fragrance. Like, it takes some experimenting.
Yes, and get rid of dryer sheets. Anybody that still uses dryer sheets, get rid of those and be really cautious on those little laundry sheets.
Oh, yes. I know I use wool balls.
Ingredients are really scary. Oh, yeah, the wool balls, those are great in the dryer.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I know there's other like better sheets as well, but I just ditch those and I just use wool balls now. But yes,
I think wool balls is the best solution. Some people will take a sponge and put safety pins in it. I just really don't like that. I'm kind of wondering how noisy that would be in my dryers, so I choose the wool balls.
Yeah.
And my Labrador thinks they're fun if we forget and one falls out. He's known to say, oh, those look like a tennis ball, but they're not.
Yeah, my dryer is right next to the dog bowl, so.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, fun. No, I've replaced them a few times, but that's okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, if somebody wanted to learn a little bit more, find ingredients that maybe or products that would be good for them, where can people connect more with you?
Well, they can go to my website and take a look around if they like, Nontoxnana.com, or they're welcome to email me. And do you want me to say that out or you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, it's KZANGAR@comcast.net.
Awesome.
So just like my name, make sure it's AR. The most common misspelling because it's Italian and people spell it in an English version. So we need the AR.
Good to remember. And I will also put that down in the show notes as well, in case you want to go find her, connect with her as well. And I really appreciate you bringing this to light, us having this conversation. If you guys found this helpful, I would absolutely love to know if you walked away with a little bit of a nugget of info. Feel free to message me or Kim as well. I'm sure she would love to hear feedback as well. And of course, if you'd like to leave a review, that would be lovely as well. So thank you guys for listening. Really appreciate you being here, and we'll catch you guys on the next show. Thank you, Kim.
Thanks so much.